Today we will be discussing Alexander Hamilton. He was born on January 11, 1755 or 1757. Sadly, his mother and father passed away when he was young, but this ended up pushing him later on in life. He was also super ambitious and became a successful student. Before we really get started, let's go over what he was a part of. He played a big role in the American Revolution, Burr-Hamilton duel, Boston Tea Party, Constitutional Convention, and the Jay Treaty. As for his political stance, he was definitely part of the Federalist Party. In 1776, Hamilton was commissioned a captain in the provincial artillery. As captain, he put together his own group and prevented the British from attacking George Washington's main army. In 1777, Washington invited him to become an aide-de-camp as lieutenant colonel. Throughout his 4 years there, Alexander grew close with Washington and his team. Desperate for wealth and influence, Hamilton married Elizabeth. He begged Washington to give him a position on the field, but Washington wasn't about that, so he said no. In early 1781, Hamilton left after a trial with the general. Luckily, this didn't sever their friendship, and Washington gave him command of the battlefield. Although Hamilton didn't play a big role in writing the Constitution, he did serve on the committees that outlined convention rules and proposed for a new government modeled off of the British system. Remember in the beginning when I said he was a part of the Federalist Party? Well, here's where that view comes into play. Since he was a Federalist, he supported the Constitution. He was even prepared to defend the Constitution. He worked with John Jay and James Madison to write 85 essays to support the Constitution called the Federalist. The Federalist Papers, in a way, speak towards a view of human nature that is similar to Locke and Rousseau's, but less so with the observation from Hobbes and Hume's, meaning that Hamilton agreed with and possibly even built on Locke and Rousseau's outlook on human nature. The ideas in the Federalist Paper take most of the same stances on freedom and liberty. Many of the Enlightenment philosophers term their own take on what they think and how things should be run based on their perspective of human nature. For example, Aquinas and Hobbes thought that humans are always at a state of war with each other. Rousseau and Locke, on the other hand, thought that humans living in their state of nature results in true freedom. Alexander Hamilton can be compared and contrasted to Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, and David Hume. You can find some similarities between Hobbes and Locke, but mostly from Hume. Hume, in particular, was cautionary about the British system, but pointed out some advantages to a credit-based economy, but still felt that the evils of this kind of system greatly outweighed the good. For Hamilton, the vitality of the British economy was enough to prove the efficiency of the system. He envisioned a strong economy where everyone could participate and profit. How did Hamilton change the world today? Hamilton helped shape the financial, political, and legal systems of the early United States. He contributed ideas on racial equality and economic diversity that were ahead of his time. He helped make the early republic too. He has a lot of similarities to other important historical figures. For example, Hamilton and Voltaire both wrote plays during their lifetime. He and Thomas Hobbes both wanted a good nation, and so they did the things that I mentioned earlier in this video to help. Even though Hamilton was influenced by many people, I would say his biggest influence was David Hume. Lastly, all these things were influential to the Enlightenment.